Oh, that's music.
That's nice. Actually, very fast music.
Okay.
That when you come to our whole music, it's going to get you.
Yeah, I know. This is music on the bridge. That's nice music, right, Lynn?
Sorry?
I said that's interesting music, I said.
No, I can't quite hear you through the music, Anthony.
Ah, okay. I need to figure out how to turn off the music here.
Much easier when it's final.
Ah, there you go, finally.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think somebody...
Yeah, Anil. Good evening, MD.
Yeah, hi, Anil. Okay, we have somebody on the bridge, which is why the music went away. Is there anyone else on the bridge?
Thank you.
Sorry, what's that? Okay.
Hello?
Yeah. Is that,
Yeah, hi, this is Himanshu Chabra from Aegis.
Yeah, hi, Himanshu. We can see you actually through video. You can turn that off maybe.
Oh, yeah, I'm just moving to another room.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good.
Hi, MD. Hi, MD. It's Liz Fleming from Hyatt.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Liz. Okay, we have Lynn Marie on the bridge as well, so we will get started in, actually it's only 7:59 now, so we have a couple of minutes. Request to all of you, please put your phones on mute. I will introduce Lynn Marie shortly, so till then put yourselves on mute and unmute yourself only when you... Thank you. Okay, not bad. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6 folks, 7 on the bridge right now.
Right.
Lynn Marie, can you hear me?
I can, yes, I can, very clearly, MD.
Okay, good. That's good. Yeah, we'll get started in a couple of minutes.
Okay, I've put myself on mute as well. I'll unmute when you ask me to. And let me know, actually, MD, when you want me to share screens, and I can do that.
Okay, sure. You can actually turn on your, you can share your screen. I thought I saw it for a moment, so you can turn that on and kind of keep your first deck open or whatever. First slide, rather.
Actually, I say that. Somebody else's screen is open, actually, so it doesn't give me an option to share mine.
Hang on, I thought I gave you control. No, wait a minute. I think just a moment. Oh, yes, sorry.
Oh, yeah, okay, I have, yeah. I am now the presenter. Thank you.
Yes. Haha, that's it. That's the Virgin slide deck.
Well, it's one of the Virgin slides from the deck, yes. I think they're actually my colleagues. Or my colleagues at the time.
Okay. Cool. We'll start in 60 seconds. We've got, I think, 7 folks on the bridge right now. Andrew, are you on the bridge? Andrew, I saw your chat message. Are you on the bridge? Okay, hang on. I'm going to help Andrew. Just a minute. Just give me a moment, folks. I'm just helping Andrew here to get onto the bridge. Okay, got it. Okay, I've sent that across to Andrew. So, Lynn Marie, we can get started. So, folks, thank you very much for joining. I know for many of you, it's kind of late in the evening. And for Lynn Marie, thank you. It's kind of afternoon for you. Thank you for making the time. Quick introduction. Lynn Marie runs her own consulting firm called RIA Consulting. She founded it several years ago. But before that, and that's what she's going to talk about really, is that she spent a lot of time with the Virgin Group. And I think she was part of, what did you say, Lynn Marie? 17 or 18 different startups within the Virgin business, which included Virgin Mobile Asia, South Africa, Virgin Mobile India, where I had the opportunity to briefly work with her as well. So she brings in a very interesting perspective. Many of us have read Richard Branson's book, or books for that matter, and Lynn was one person who kind of breathed and lived and worked through it for a long period of time. So that's what she's going to talk about today. So with that very brief introduction, Lynn, over to you. If you want to add anything more to my introduction, please go ahead.
Thank you, MD, and thank you, Celtics, and thank you, MD, for asking me or inviting me to do this presentation. I was trying to actually count up how many businesses it was. I think it was 18 new business enterprises, 12 of which were actually to Virgin. And they were actually across mobile healthcare, and I've actually done some work in petrochemical industry as well, but mainly within telecommunications. Really, I guess what I was going to talk about today is really about how you create or keep recreating businesses that enable people to be themselves, but really kind of work from leveraging the power of a brand like Virgin, but also the power of the local culture, and blending those two, bringing them together in a way that is very unique. So it's not a one size fits all. It's not, you do this in one country and it works in another. Every single one was created in a way that brought the best of the world to whatever the offering was. So just to get us started, I guess I've got a number of key messages which are really around how to create a vivid picture, such that people can really get on board very quickly with what you're trying to do. And then how do you get people on board, and how do you create alignment, particularly when you may not directly control all aspects of your business. So in Virgin's case, it was a product which was pretty vanilla in the market, offered on a platform that was owned by Tata, supported by IT systems that were provided by Tata, and actually then supported by outsourced customer service that was still at the time, which is now, I think, Tata Business Solutions, and then sold by a number of different partners. So how do you create something that is quite special and unique? And I guess it's worth saying at this stage that not all of the businesses that I launched actually survived. Some of them never made any money, but all of them, I think, in their marketplace changed the way that people perceived and experienced the world. And I think, whether businesses are a success is one thing, but actually changing things for the better is another. Not to say that we didn't set out to be successful business, but I acknowledge that was the case. So just some questions before we get started, just for everybody that's on the line and listening. Thank you, I appreciate it. I know it's late in your evening, and I know you've probably got dinner and family and friends to get to. So I just kind of want to ask you some questions. Firstly, what is your vision for the customer experience you're creating? I'm just trying to get a sense, can you articulate that? If I met you tomorrow morning going into the office, could you articulate in 3 minutes what your customer experience is, or what you're trying to create? And then a question for you, is there a gap at the moment between the vision and what you're delivering? And just to get it down to some kind of facts, then can you put a number on that gap? Is it a very small gap, 1, or is it a huge gap, up to 10, or is it somewhere in between 1 and 10? I'm not going to ask you to share this, so just be honest. So have you got a gap, and how big is it? And then my next question is, how aligned is your organisation? So 10 would be everybody's 100% on board, including all our partners, outsourcers, third parties. 1 is actually very few people are on board. So again, just get a sense of how much alignment have you got, and give it a number 1 to 10. And then let's kind of go on this journey together, really. I still work with businesses, and I'm doing actually quite a bit of work with not-for-profit organisations in creating kind of visions and getting people on board. And this is really a bit of a story about that, with some of the Virgin Mobile kind of stories thrown in, because I think they have, the one thing that Virgin kind of brings is a great brand, so it's got lots of hooks. So just a kind of where we're headed as a picture. We're going to talk about creating a customer experience, how you do that in terms of creating a really vivid picture that people can see, hear and feel. How do you get people aligned? A little bit about the Virgin values and how they supported what we were doing. The importance of stories, myths and legends, and I might get MD to share one of his that he remembers from 11 years ago. And then empowerment, the importance of empowerment, acknowledgement and appreciation. So that's where we're headed. So the work that we did with Virgin Mobile, any Virgin business actually started off with creating this vivid picture. But to start with, we kind of moved with the Virgin values, and these are kind of what Virgin brings to any marketplace. It's what it gives. So it talks about innovation, challenging the champion. So it's moving into a marketplace which is kind of fairly staid. Nobody's really kind of leading the market. Nothing really much is happening, and they want to really kind of shake the market up. And they've done that in airlines, they've done it in mobile, they've done it in other industries, banking, healthcare. They always offer a product that's good quality. It's not necessarily the best. It's certainly not the Rolls-Royce or the BMW, but what they offer is good value for the right price and good quality. They talk about as this challenger brand being fun, young at heart, and that comes through in a lot of the workplace, the advertising, the products, the packaging, the merchandising, value for money I've spoken about, and this thing about excellent customer service, which is at every touch point across all stages of the customer life cycle, through many, many different interfaces. So we, in any market that we've kind of worked with Virgin, we started with this, and that the brand manual for Virgin is a massive tome that really kind of says what it means to be Virgin and also what it doesn't mean to be Virgin. So it's really clear, it brings that clarity. But what it doesn't tell you is how do you create Virgin in India, and what does that mean to someone who's local to that culture. So when we landed on the ground in Mumbai, that's what we set about doing, and we probably spent about 6 weeks researching. And so we created this thing called the Vivid Picture. It was a slide deck of about 120 slides, but it was much more than that. It was a document that took us, it created the picture of where we were going to end up. So it provided us with the direction, and every single person that came and joined the business actually got involved in realising that vivid picture. So just a kind of few words here. Kind of, if you don't have a vivid picture and you set out on your journey, you will end up somewhere you didn't expect to end up. So the more refinement, the more detail, the more people you have on board, the more likely it is that you're going to achieve the end result. You won't achieve it all in one go, but you will get there eventually, because you've imagined what you're trying to create. If you don't imagine what you're trying to create, everybody will have their own view of the vivid picture. And I've put in on one of the bullets there, everyone has their own view. They have their own view, they think it's reality, but it's not really reality. And so if you think you're starting with a blank sheet of paper, think again, because everybody will have a different view of what you're trying to create. And in the case of Virgin, which Tata had a very strong view, they'd run mobile businesses before. Servitsol had provided customer service to mobile customers before, so they knew how to do it. So everybody had a view, and it wasn't the same view. So getting everybody to create this really clear picture of where we're going and bringing their uniqueness is really important. This point about customers don't see the boundaries. When we looked at service in India, we didn't stop at mobile providers. So we looked across hotels, we looked across airlines, we looked across people that were providing lunches in offices. We went and looked at those people that customers were telling us were the best service. And we looked at what they were doing and how they were doing it, and we looked at what we could learn. Because customers don't say, this is the best service that I can get for a mobile phone. They look at all their customer experience across all the products and services they ever come into contact with throughout their life. So don't just look inside your own industry, look outside for best practice. Engage everyone, create the vivid picture, and we were recruiting hundreds of people. Everyone new that comes on board needs to be involved in that creation. It will take time, and it's worth the investment. I think, those are the key points. Here's some of what we did in India, and I'm not going to talk through all of this slide, but one of the things we set out, we were not the Rolls-Royce of service, but we were going to create something that was very unique. We took the symbol of the Mini Cooper, because it was kind of it was a British car. It was kind of quirky, a little bit edgy at the time, and it was kind of fast, flexible, movable, and we used it as an image because we didn't want this confusion between good quality and great customer service to be confused with you can throw all the money in the world at this. We had a very low value, low average kind of monthly spend for the mobile customers we were targeting. So we did have to have low service costs, but we did want something that was good quality. So when we created our vivid picture, we looked at all these areas, the vision, the people, the processes, the organisation structure and the systems, and we made sure that all of those underpinned the key aspects of the service that we were designing, or the experience that we were designing. And then we spent a huge amount of time making sure that we brought people on board and we got people aligned. And as I say, when I look back at Virgin Mobile India, we were a small marketing team of about 6 people. We were a small customer service team internally of about 6 people as well. All of our IT, all of our service delivery, all of our sales channels were all third-party channels. So, and they came with a very distinctive style. And we selected them. We were free to choose who we worked with, and we selected them on the basis that they were open to kind of relearn some of the things and break the mould on expectations. So if you don't, just the clear messages here is if there is a lack of alignment, so if your service provider is trying to handle calls in under 60 seconds, which our service provider was, then, and we were aiming for quality of customer service, that we dealt with customer requests in one-stop shop, then you've got a complete misalignment of expectations. Those gaps will impact the customer. One of the things we heard in Virgin regularly was always under-promise and over-deliver. So if you think it's going to take 5 days to get to the customer, say to the customer it'll take 7 days and make sure you deliver in 5 days. Or if you're going to do it in an hour, say to the customer you'll definitely deliver in the next hour and a half. Check your phone in an hour, but make sure you've delivered expectations or over-delivered expectations. I think the other thing when you think about alignment is think about third parties have their own cultures, their own organisations, and actually you're going to have to do something symbolic to actually change that culture. And culture shifts can sometimes take 3 years. So think ahead and think about what you're going to do to actually change the cultures to support and align with the vivid picture and the values that you're creating. And think about all touch points, so web, Facebook, social media, phone, retail outlets, everything needs to be integrated and providing one sense of what you're delivering, one sense of that experience, and it needs to be. If you've got a great sales process and a terrible after-sales service, customers will judge you on your weakest point. So these are some of the things that when we were looking at Virgin in terms of underpinning, we looked at places where we could differentiate through the brand and through the customer experience. So we looked at what we could make different, and we looked at the points. We couldn't make it all different, but we could say, what does the customer value most, and where have we got the most capacity? And then we would design the processes and systems to really create the expectation at those points. Working with partners to jointly deliver. So we worked with our partners to recruit people, to design the processes, to change the systems as much as we could, and also change these organisation structures. We changed the environment which our people were working in, and so that they could experience Virgin and then be able to communicate that through the customer experience to our customers. And then we set out to deliver service beyond people's expectations at that time in India. And we kind of chose a few things like approachable, easy to get hold of, deliver on time, keep our promises, provide the human touch and wow our customers. And we actually designed in how we would do that. So it was designed into every aspect of the organisation, the systems, the processes, the people, the training, the recruitment. But it wasn't everything. We didn't set out to do everything different. So, you need to think about focusing where is going to make the biggest difference in the marketplace and with the service and product that you're providing. So these were sort of some of the things. So we didn't set out to break the whole mould, but we did set out to break the mould in certain circumstances and in certain aspects of what we were doing our business. And these kind of identify those. So we were very, very targeted. And actually we had, when we looked at differentiation, we looked at the first 3 months, 6 months, a year and 18 months. So we had this kind of rolling plan where we could keep those changes coming so that we'd always maintain this sort of challenger brand. And then just a little bit about the Virgin values. So if the vivid picture creates the where are we going together, and then you bring everybody on board so that everybody is aiming for the same vivid picture, then the values provide the how. So the vivid picture is the what, the alignment is the who, and the Virgin values provided us with the how. And Virgin, being the organisation that it is, has really clear values, really clear principles. It has clear principles about people and about customers. And one of the things that a Virgin business will always say is that our people come first, which is quite different from a lot of businesses, because a lot of businesses you have, customers are number one, customers are king, customers come first. But Richard's principle was always, no, our people come first. If we treat them the way we want them to treat our customers, they will do it. If we treat them really poorly and then say, treat the customer as king, then they will see the gap between what we're saying and what we're doing. So treat your people like you want them to treat your customers. This kind of underpins every single Virgin business around the world. So, I'll pick a few things here, but our staff should be happy, cheerful, smiling, friendly, and enjoying their job. We used to say we want people to bring their whole selves to work, not just the marketing manager, not just the customer champion, but actually, we want the uniqueness that everybody brings. So we'll all be different. We want our staff to bring their personalities with them on the job, to be individuals, to care about the work that they do. We need our staff to be comfortable with exceptions. So again, we could design processes and we could design systems, but we knew that things would go wrong. And when they went wrong, who's best to deal with it but the person that's the first to know about it. And basically we would train them to come up with creative solutions. So, the things we couldn't think about, we could trust them to just do and come up with a solution. And if they got it wrong, then that was fine. Mistakes are inevitable, dissatisfied customers are not. It's okay to do it wrong, that's fine, we'll learn from it. In fact, sometimes they're the most creative solutions. It might go wrong the first time, and then we can actually learn from it and actually kind of share that across the organisation. But knowledge management was key as well. And the last point, the only purpose in having frontline positions is if the customer experience is service excellence. Otherwise, use a machine. So this also, in terms of how we design the organisation, we were designing the organisation so that our customer champions, our customer service agents, we call them customer champions, were used in the most high-value interactions. If they weren't adding, value, if they couldn't kind of bring their uniqueness to a conversation, then actually use some kind of automated service. But don't automate the transactions that the customer really values. Otherwise, you just frustrate the customer. So the Virgin values really kind of gave us the how we did business. And, if we ever had a question about whether, we should do something this way or that way, we came back to these values about what it meant to be Virgin. And then some stories, myths, legends, why do these exist in the modern world? Well, myths have been around for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. Well, something like that. Legends, we remember legends, and I think in India you're blessed with a very mythical kind of culture. But people remember stories. People are transfixed by stories. Both in the press, within the workplace, and Virgin was really great at capturing these unique stories. In fact, I think the marketing spend within Virgin was kind of thousands of dollars, and most of our competitors were bringing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we were out kind of matched 20-fold in terms of media and marketing spend. But we always managed to occupy more of the media space than our competitors. And why was that? Because basically our frontline staff were really good at capturing the human stories. And it was those that we used to get in the press. So we used to get free advertising, free press stories. And the goldfish and the relevance of the goldfish is it's actually a story from Virgin Atlantic, so a UK airline at that time. And I'll tell you the story because it's kind of an idea of how Virgin works, really. The story is that there is a family in the UK who are emigrating to the US, and it's a mother and a father, husband and wife, and 2 young children. And as they packed up their home and packed up all their belongings, the youngest child has got a pet goldfish. I don't know whether you have such things in India, but he's got a pet goldfish and cannot kind of even think about leaving this pet goldfish in London. Well, they fly off to New York. So the family arrived early one morning for their Virgin Atlantic flight, and the lady on the check-in is checking in the mother and father and the 2 young children, and the mother kind of says, and we've got a goldfish, could you check the goldfish in? And you can imagine at this point there's a very tearful child, and the parents have probably said, well, goldfish don't fly very well. And the check-in agent actually says, of course we can check in the goldfish, just give me a moment. And she checks the goldfish in and says, well, the goldfish is going to have to go in the hold, and I'll look after the goldfish for you, no problem. And you can pick the goldfish up. I don't know what the goldfish is called, maybe Freddie the goldfish up at the other end in New York when you land. And there was one very relieved father and mother, because they didn't have to now deal with a screaming child who'd had his pet goldfish confiscated. And the check-in agent actually phoned to New York, sent a photograph of the goldfish, and the team on the other side in New York went and got a similar-looking goldfish to give to the child. Freddie the goldfish was rehomed with one of the Virgin Atlantic staff, and we had a very, very delighted family who picked up a goldfish in New York and seemingly reunited it with the family. So it was a story that kind of hit the press both in the US and the UK, And it's become a legend because it symbolises, you could never ever design a customer experience process that says if someone turns up at your checkout with a goldfish, this is what you need to do. And the Virgin team and Virgin staff know that when these things happen, there's an opportunity to create a memory and a wow to the customer. I don't know. I'll tell the other story, MD. But the other story, and MD, I must have told this to MD maybe 10 years ago, was that there was a Virgin Atlantic flight between the UK and Hong Kong, and it was, I think the flight got cancelled, and hundreds of passengers were delayed for a day on their trip. And this was in the very early days of Virgin Atlantic, and Richard Branson actually phoned Virgin Atlantic and said, can you send me the passenger list with their contact details? And he then phoned every single person on that scheduled flight and actually apologised for what had happened. Now, was it Richard's fault? No. Was it Virgin Atlantic's fault? No, it might have been weather, it might have been, any number of reasons. But again, that kind of story really, that hit the press as well, and, even decades later, people still talk about the difference in service. So you'll have similar things that happen in your business. Do you have your frontline people capturing them? And are you making the best of them? And those myths, legends and stories, people will remember way beyond even, kind of what job they were doing or where they were in the world, but they'll remember those stories. So enough about goldfish. And then the kind of my final point, just sort of kind of getting to the end now, is really, in terms of alignment, does what you talk about within your business underpin what are the most important things to you? So if, for example, if you say our people are the most important things, our customers, people first, followed by customers, are those the top things that you talk about in your team meetings, in your executive meetings, your board meetings? Is the first point on the agenda, how are our people doing? Who are our heroes and heroines? Then that gives you alignment. If the first thing you talk about in your meeting are how many customers we have, what our financial performance is, what our debt is, then that tells the entire organisation, the entire world, what is the most important thing. And the most important thing there would be financial performance. So think about celebrating what's most important to you and making that a priority. And this slide is, again, one from kind of Virgin. It was looking at how we empower people. And this poor chat, all the research that we did about how businesses ran in India was really telling us that most companies were built on processes that suit the organisation. So they weren't designed from the customer point of view, they weren't designed from the people point of view. So most frontline people couldn't make decisions, and they had to stick to very rigid processes and weren't trusted. Nobody, when we first set up in India, there was no frontline staff was actually allowed to give a refund, which went to a back office. So they weren't trusted to even kind of do a 40 rupee refund, or it was kind of interesting really. So it was like, yeah, customer first, but we're not going to trust the people that talk to you directly. So we built the organisation with trust in mind. We wanted to build it such that customer champions were free to do the best. So when I say customer champions, this could be salespeople as well, that they were free to do the best for the customer. and we wanted to make it easy for customers to do business with us. So we kind of unleashing and freeing people up. So instead of sort of barriers, controls, obstacles, we wanted to actually track, manage and empower our people to make the decisions, the right decisions. And they were good at that. They were really good. In fact, they quite often made better decisions than the managers that managed them. And then I guess like the symbol of the Oscars, what gets recognised gets done. So every team meeting we would start with what we appreciated. We would start with the stories about the heroes and heroines in the business, talk about the customer stories, what had gone right, and that was always what we started with. The symbol of the Oscars was the symbol we used to recruit our people and to train our people. We had dress rehearsals, we gave awards, and we recognised what was right for people and what was right for our customers. And I think that's it. I'd really like to appreciate you for all listening. And throw it open if there's any questions.
Oh, that was great. Thank you, Lynn-Marie. I know I've heard this several times before. It all came flooding back, really. Fascinating. Yeah, like Lynn-Marie mentioned, questions? Yeah. Anyone with questions?
Hi, this is Rohit Srivastava. We are from IDEA.
Hi.
Yes, Rohit, go ahead.
Hi, I had a question. This was really very helpful. I wanted to understand, if one acknowledges that a lot of these things need to be driven top-down, starting right from the leadership, how does one get the buy-in of leadership to, get all of these, this whole culture change going in the organization in light of, business challenges and business targets and all of those things?
Okay, I didn't quite catch your name.
Rohit, I'm
my
Rohit.
apologies. I think, sorry, say again? Andrew?
My name's Rohit.
I still didn't get it, but it's not. It's to do with the quality of the line coming through, I think.
Yeah. Did you get the Lynn-Marie? Did you get the question? Because I can repeat.
Yeah. I'm just going to check I did, MD. So how did we manage to get the time with all the leadership people?
No, the question was
the
question from Rohit was that this is great stuff, but how do you get the? He basically confirmed that all this really starts at the top. So if you're in an organization, to bring about this kind of a culture change, how do you get really the top management to buy into all this, or if the top and how do you really drive it from the top? I think that was the question. Correct, Rohit?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I did get it. Thank you. Great question. Well, with Virgin, I mean, it was a business startup, so they were really keen to get these questions answered. But in Virgin, the challenge was we were building an organisation, so you've got, we're creating a vivid picture, and at the same time we're running on a very fast project plan where we're making decisions. So the challenge there is you've got really getting people bought in and aligned versus get it done. Build it, get it done. We've got a launch date to hit. The work that I'm doing, or the work that I'm doing more recently, has been with existing organisations. So they're already on a track. They're already delivering something to someone. And I'd say you cannot possibly do this type of work unless the person, usually the chairwoman, chairman, chairperson at the top of the organisation, is saying, I'm going to sponsor this. So I would say if you don't have that person saying, I'm going to sponsor it, you're not going to have the funds to do it. You're not going to get the listening of the other functional heads in the organisation. If you have that person on board, and the other thing I'd say is to have that person on board, there has got to be some kind of burning need for change. So something has got to be so broken that there's a lot of talk about the tipping point. You've got to be on a burning platform that is about to sink into the sea to make the changes. Otherwise, you're actually, really what you're doing is manoeuvring a kind of vessel that's already kind of moving in a direction. So I guess be clear about whether it's a whole change. Are you trying to create something entirely different, or are you actually building on what's there? And so you could continually evolve the big picture that says, actually, we're going to look for the next 3 years. In fact, that's one of the projects I'm doing at the moment. So we've got a 3-year vivid picture. But again, it's definitely sponsored by the chairman in this case. And we're doing an awful lot of going, conversations, interviews, feedback with all levels of the organisation. Does that help answer your question?
Yep, pretty much. Thanks.
Yeah, Rohit, just to add to what Lynn Marie just said, if you're, and I've seen this across several organizations whom I've been in touch with, if, the person or the people at the top don't buy into the idea of, people come first and buy into the idea of even customer comes first, it's extremely hard to change their attitude. It's extremely hard. Like Lynn Marie said, there needs to be some cataclysmic event where change happens and they're forced to change the way they look at things. Otherwise, from the middle of the organization, it's really hard to make changes.
Hi, Lynn Marie. This is Andrew Williams here. Thank you so much for your presentation. I have just one question which, one seeks to find the answer to this, but it's easier said than done. The question I have is that, in a large organization, creating empathy, your previous slide did speak of empathizing with the customer and teaching your people how to do that. But empathy is a value that varies from one individual to the other. With some people it's dormant, with some people it's far more demonstrative. How do you really build that very strong culture of empathy across everybody, where it's almost a way of life? And it's almost a way of life as in everybody thinks of being profitable. Similarly, they should think of being, having empathy. How does one really do that?
Hi, Andy, I'm really going to need your help. I think I got about every third word. I heard large industry, creating customer service, and I think there was a question about how do you build a culture and a way of life.
Yeah,
but sorry, Andy.
I'll repeat the question for you. This was from Andrew Williams from Asian Paints. So his question was, in a large organization, how do you build empathy within individuals? Each person, may have empathy in a kind of a different way. It could be, a characteristic which is dominant in one person and not so dominant in another. But how do you kind of build empathy and empathy to others, empathy to customers across the organization, and especially a large organization? Did that sum it up, Andrew?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. Did you get that, Lynn?
Yeah, great question. How do you build empathy in individuals? Well, I think empathy is one of those things that some people are kind of more empathetic than others. So they have this ability, I guess some people call it emotional intelligence, the ability to see a kind of emotional state in another and then flex their own to respond to that empathetically. So inherently a natural human trait that exists, which I think is what Andrew said, but some people, are more attuned with that than others. So I think, firstly, if you can recruit, if it's a really important quality, then make it part of your recruitment. So in all of the kind of businesses I've worked in, they've done some kind of competency-based assessment, and the customer champions in Virgin Mobile it was a whole half day of recruitment that we went through, where they handled customer inquiries, they played games together, they built Lego things, and we were looking at how they interacted with each other, with customers. So if you can, then I would say build it into your framework of recruitment. If you've already got people, then actually you would need to kind of do some kind of development around kind of empathy, so people start to build awareness and start to practice different empathetic responses. And you can, there are behavioural and competency-based development and training that you can do, and you can make that really fun actually as well. And then I guess thirdly is, if it's really important to you, recognise it, appreciate it, gather the stories that demonstrate how that, how someone is using it. So if you've got some people that are really good at it, see what they're doing, and actually start sharing those, and people will start to recognise that, someone on their team or someone in their part of the organisation is doing something really well, and actually starting to share those stories, and even getting those people to share what they do and how they do it can be really powerful. So it's kind of like peer-led training sessions or sharing sessions. So that's what I do.
Thank you so much, Lynn. It sounds like you do
a
huge many number of things. So thank you very much. That was quite informative. Thank you.
Great question, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Any other questions?
Yeah, hi. My name is Sonali. I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Sonali.
Thank you. So, Lynn, I want to question. I represent an organization which is pretty large and has businesses across many verticals. It's big. It's been there forever. And now, when you take customer centricity or customer experience as a theme, you kind of hit a roadblock, which is technology. And the pace at which technology is changing today. There are two problems. One is you have huge investments. So how do you decide, what is the next big investment and what will kind of hold you through for future? So there's so many new trends which keep coming. How do you identify, which is there to stay and therefore put your energies behind that?
Thanks, Sonali. I could hear you crystal clear. So thank you for the question. So you're working.
Lynn Marie, are you there? I think we lost you.
Oh, I was responding to Sonali, but I was on mute. I'm so enthusiastic. So I could hear Sonali crystal clear. Thank you. So my understanding of the question was the kind of timescales involved with developing technology.
Yeah.
You've got huge investment, big dollars, long time scale, and actually what's happening in the marketplace is you've got new trends moving really rapidly. And you'll get people, not dissimilar to Virgin or new entrants actually kind of bringing on board technology that changes things for large industries very quickly. And I think it's a huge challenge how to keep up with that. I mean, in a way, I'm going to say, Sonali, I don't think you in that situation, and we were in the same situation a little bit with Surgeon, in that we, Tata and Serviceball had massive investment in IT infrastructure. And so to get a system that was agile, flexible, customer focused was really difficult. We were trying to move the Titanic, and actually what we wanted was a little fast speedboat. So what we did is, I kind of go back to some of the research we did around what was happening in the marketplace with different industries, different sectors. We looked at what other people were doing really well. We did a huge amount of customer interviews, customer research, because we knew we couldn't match everybody. We couldn't do the best that everybody was doing. And so what we chose was to do those things that the customer said mattered most. And we chose a number of, I think I had a slide that said focus. We looked at the customer life cycle, we looked at the customer journey and said which steps of that journey are most important to the customer. And clearly in the industry we were in, the onboarding process was very, very important. And there were other aspects as well in the life cycle that were important. And we just said, right, we're going to make the investment in processes and systems at these points, and we're going to be really specific about what we wanted to do to have maximum impact for the investment that we had. So we didn't change, we didn't do these wholesale system releases. And Andy, you might be able to talk to us a little bit because of what we did. I know Andy was involved with the Tata IT group. But we couldn't move everything, but we really selected and were focused. And we did some things that nobody in the market was doing at the time. So, and have a vision, have a 3-year vision.
Okay.
Do you want to ask that, Andy?
Yeah, well, it's simpler said than done, really. The point is that, Sonali, when you have choices, especially with respect to technology, seldom people, of course, they evaluate with multiple parameters when they look at these choices. But one parameter which several people miss is the impact on the customer.
Right.
And, so that's one thing to keep in mind, which I've seen in some situations. But otherwise, it's a tough call, especially in large organizations, because there are several departments, several people involved. So decision-making is slow in the first place. And, of course, the parameters which get used to evaluate technology also is a large number. But just make sure, that impact on customer is also kind of put in over there as one of the evaluation parameters.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have five.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah, sure.
Be very
Sure.
quick.
Sure.
Just to give you an example, Sonali, with all of our competitors at the time, when the customer phoned up, the screen that the agent used to have open was phone number. And so the conversation used to start with, can you tell me your phone, what number are you calling about? 07, whatever. And we made a very simple change, which was,
Lynn, are you there? Okay, folks, am I audible on the bridge?
Yeah.
Okay, so just hang on. I'm going to patch Lynn again. Just give me a moment. I'll put you on hold and call her in.
The person you are speaking with has put your call on hold. Please stay on the line. ನೀವು ಯಾವ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಮಾತನಾಡುತ್ತಿದ್ದೀರೋ ಅವರು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕರೆಯನ್ನು ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಲೈನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಿ. आप जिस व्यक्ति से बात कर रहे हैं उसने आपकी कॉल.
Yeah, Lynn Marie, you're back. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know, sorry about that. I don't know how much of that you got, but so I was saying that all our competitors ask for the phone number or the account number that someone was calling about. we made the simple change of having the screen open that said, who's speaking, please, so give me your name. So the whole of our conversation started with a handshake about the name of the person, not, something to do with the data that the company needed. So that might be, really simple things about thinking through the customer's eyes, not through the company's eyes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps. That's a nice, simple change.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really simple, but really change the dynamics of the conversation because you're in a relationship then, rather than a transaction. There's a shift that happens that says this is a transaction. No, it's not. Let's be in a relationship and let's have a conversation about what you need.
Sorry, Lynn, could you just repeat the change that you made? I didn't quite get that.
I'm phoning up as a customer. A good example would be my electricity company. But the first thing they say to me is account number, please.
Right.
And we're straight in then to a transaction of, have you paid your bill, have you done a meter reading, whatever. Whereas actually saying who's calling, we're into a relationship, you're calling me Lynn Marie or Mrs. Eccleston or whatever. But we're into a conversation and a relationship rather than a transaction. The transaction will come, but it's a very different thing from the customer's perspective.
All right, I got that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, folks, it's 9 p.m. right now. Any one last question maybe, if anybody has? Otherwise, I'm going to share, if it's okay with you, Lynn, I'm going to share your email ID with the folks. So, don't be surprised if you get any emails from them. Okay. With that, thank you very much, Lynn Marie. I know there was a little bit of a problem with the quality of the voice, but I think we made it through. Thank you once again. And folks, 8 to 9, this is the first time we've had a webinar at this time in the evening. So thank you for making it and joining us. Our next CCOF is in May, and that's face-to-face. That's in Hyatt in Bangalore. You'll hear more about it, in the coming months or the coming weeks. Once again, Lynn Marie, thank you very much. This was fascinating. For me, of course, this was several years ago. 2007, I think, when we did this project together for Virgin VMI, Virgin in India. So it brought back a lot of good memories. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, folks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
ಚಾರು ಅಂತ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು.
This boy saw me downstairs, running past. So Han told him that other than the scooter. He looked at me
and then he ran fast. So I'm also going to ignore him, pretend that he's not. wish you all the best. I'll make it on, okay, because you're going to need. I'll give you $50,000. Here's how much equity I want. Okay? They're going to pay me $2 a draft until I get my 50K back, and then they're going to pay me $1 forever after that. Here's the covenant. I forbid you to make anything except hair bones or face dresses. Every dress will be a hair bone. Last week, I took a woman who came in with power. Mr. Wonderful said, he was mad. And today, we're in the Disney theme park. All over with that power. I'm going to offer you $50,000. Take 30% stake in the company and take this nationwide. And it's not just going to give you the fee, but we can take it into all the retailers, and I think that I can be a millionaire. Here's what that's about. You still go the route the board suggested. You don't make enough money to get paid. But here's what's good about what I'm doing. I'm forcing you into a ton of profitability. So every time you get up in the morning and make a sale, you can make money. That's a grand plan. That's a whole game plan. For me, just only $11. This is a big deal. This is